and a great need to learn. For more about Charlotte Fortin, go online to massmoments.org. This Massachusetts Moment has been brought to you by the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities.
Catch the wave, WHAV, open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Stepping up front with the perfect combination. You're a member of the in-group. Swinging music and you in WHAV.
And that was the surprise, folks. A WHAV jingle from the 1960s. How many people remember that? Now, if you're one of those, there are people who actually collect jingles. Chris, is there a name for jingle collectors? Jingle collectors. All right. All right. But in any event, for those who do, this was recorded by a company called Pepper Tanner, out of business now. And the theme was called It's the Perfect Combination, WHAV and You. In commemoration of the 70th anniversary of WHAV, of the call letters in Haverhill, Thursday night, we're going to be playing some of these old jingles tonight here on the Open Mic Show. And, of course, Thursday is the big inauguration ceremony for the new 97.9 FM WHAV, and I'm sure many of you are listening right now on your radios. And I actually want to tell you that every now and then we were preempted last week on local television and decided would take the night off as a result and run a rerun. And part of the reason is many of you have told me that I click the TV. If you're not there, I just assume you're not on the radio, but that's not necessarily true. And in the future, even if the Open Mic Show was preempted, we'll still be on because, frankly, we're now seeing our greatest numbers are on the radio. So that will work with that. A reminder, Tommy Duggan, he's actually in the control room now. Publisher, I'm sorry, maybe he prefers Tom, is in the control room now. He's the publisher of the Valley Patriot. He's going to be discussing his new book, Heroes in Our Midst. It's about veterans all across the Merrimack Valley. He profiles one in every issue of the paper. He's compiled them into this great book. Lots of local names in there. I'm going to throw out John Katsaris' name as one of the veterans and many, many others, but I throw out John because John is part of WHAV's history, and we are celebrating WHAV's history this week. All right, let's go to the phones. I believe we have another pseudo-veteran on the line. Are you on?
Lieutenant B here.
Lieutenant B. Now, were you actually in the service?
No.
He just got the title lieutenant somehow. All right. All right, so Lieutenant, what's up?
Well, I have a birthday wish.
Well, there we go. We'll kick off. Brian always kicks them off anyway. You got to get on Brian's Christmas card list or something so that he'll make sure he remembers you on your birthday or your anniversary. What kind of an event is it?
It's a birthday.
And when is it?
April 30th.
April 30th. Now, that's a very special day to me.
Familiar?
Yes, it does. I hope you weren't one of those who wrote it down. April 30th, yes. It's a great...
I have a memory for dates, I guess.
Oh, that's a great day. Yes. I'll be a year older myself on that day. All right, so whose name is it?
Cheryl.
Cheryl's birthday, April 30th. Great day, Cheryl. Well, hope it's a good one for you. All right. Anyone else on your list?
For April, of course, the only ones I do are people who are around here.
All right. Well, that makes sense because they'll be able to get a free 7-inch cake from Albee D's second-generation Italian bakery. You know, Chris, I'm sure our listeners can hear this too. I'm going to ask you to bring up the business Comcast on your computer and get the support number, because they don't believe this is happening, these little tones that interrupt our phone callers.
They should tune in.
Yeah, well, that's right, they should. But actually, the local Comcast office isn't really that far away. It's in Portsmouth, so maybe they could. But in any event, anything else on your mind this week, Brian?
Oh, just a little of this and that. I've been missing my old house.
Oh.
I don't know why. I just been thinking about it. If it were still up, you know, the house is too big for me. 16 rooms and all that.
That's right. This was on School Street in downtown.
Right.
And it was taken down, what, 2014? I'm losing track.
I think 2015, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, you know,
there's a whole mess there, and...
Yeah, Brian's old house, folks, was right on the edge of the urban renewal district. I think thanks to urban renewal, his view got a little better. But the house was something Brian couldn't stay in himself, at least until it was set up with handicapped access. And I think that was something you said you thought of doing at some point.
Well, yeah, because my wife was in a wheelchair, and that was the idea. I was gonna, have a nice, ramp and stuff like that for her. Plus, there was room on the top floor, like a little penthouse for PCAs and stuff,
Oh, makes sense. Personal care attendants, right?
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
That would have been... no CPAs.
Yeah. There's Brian needs a CPA up there. All right. Well, there is a GoFundMe page that was been set up by us here, some of us here at WHAV, all of us here at WHAV. That house was just the beginning of Brian's problems. The city condemned it, hurt the sale of the property, and then ultimately another sale was resurrected, but the house was not. It came down, and then just a bunch of other tragedies in Brian's life. His wife Leslie passed away. Brian has health issues himself. And then to top it all off, he was robbed of his life savings from his home. So you can contribute to the GoFundMe page. I don't have the actual address here, but if you go, if you type in Brian Langlois, and we're going to spell that for you, Langlois. So it's like Langlois if you're in your car and you can't write it down. Go to GoFundMe, type in his name, and you should be able to find that page. And Brian, we are wishing you the best of luck. And another one of our sponsors, and I think I told you this offline, but another one of our sponsors made a direct deposit to your account at Haverhill Bank.
Oh, is that right?
That's right. So if you're wondering, if we didn't talk about this, I think we did, but if we didn't talk about it, he doesn't. I've already given some of it away. The person does not want to be recognized. So. But you'll find that. Those of you, I don't know how easily this is done, but those of you who just want to make sure, you don't want to go online, you don't want to use a card, there is a fund at Haverhill Bank in Brian's name. You can go to any branch, explain to the manager what you're trying to do, and they'll be able to help you.
Oh, the Brian Langlois Relief Fund.
Right, Brian Langlois Relief Fund.
That's what we named the account. Yeah.
So you... I don't know if you've checked your balances lately, but hopefully that has already come through.
Well, I'll have a look. I haven't looked in a few weeks.
All right. Well, call...
But, and thinking about my house, what I was wondering is where they have plans where Jim Allen is going to do some building over there in Bradford.
That's right. There's new houses on South Grove Street.
I'm wondering what's under the soil over there. I mean, they gave me a hard time about just a small oil leak, but I just wonder about when industry has been over there, and I'm sorry to say that commerce and industry is not there, that it's going to be all residential. I wish him well, but
Well, no, I know what you mean. Actually, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Erin Brockovich. Is that her name? Brockovich? Or heard the movie. And it's about PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric in California, that had allowed chemicals leach into the ground, and then hundreds of families became ill. Yeah. And you wonder about these old industrial sites, but I believe probably Tommy, our guest coming up, would know a lot more about this, but we have rather stringent environmental regulations in Massachusetts that cover this through the 21E process. So I'm assuming he's having a site assessment for that property, already had one, and that kind of thing. But good points, good points. Former industrial uses converted to housing, what the impact might be. But unfortunately, we are at the top of the hour already. So,
okay.
Good questions, though. Thank you very much.
I wanted to mention that I met Tom before at my house on Webster Street. He and I have a friend in common, Jeff.
Oh, really? See, if Tommy knows everybody. Actually, I hope he doesn't mind my calling him Tommy, because I hate being called Timmy. So, It's like everyone wants to know where my dog is.
Yeah, okay, we're ready.
Probably no one is older.
WHAV 97.9 LP FM in Haverhill.
Good enough. Thank you so much, Brian. All right, we'll talk to you on the side. Keep listening for Tom Duggan right here on the Open Mic Show. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, we're going to go to local news. Some unfamiliar voice on local news today. You can listen to that at 7. Local weather. You're going to get an update on tomorrow's storm activity. Then we'll be back with Tom Duggan, publisher of the Valley Patriot, discussing his new book, Heroes in Our Midst. We'll be right back.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:02.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. A 49-year-old Haverhill man faces multiple charges of aggravated rape of a child following his arrest late Friday morning. William Beer of 17 8th Avenue was arrested just before 11 a.m. at Haverhill Police Station on warrants. 4 warrants relate to aggravated rape of a child, while a single warrant each relate to indecent assault and battery on a child, indecent assault on a person, and assault to rape a child. Haverhill Police confirmed this weekend the charges are unrelated to other child abuse cases. No additional information was available by news deadline. Haverhill City Council President John Mitchison wants an explanation from the mayor as to why residents were not notified until this weekend about a December drinking water treatment malfunction. Haverhill households were notified by mail this weekend that a rapid series of brief power outages at the city's Amesbury Road water treatment plant prevented disinfectant from being added to drinking water. For 9 minutes, the notice read, the required number of chemicals was not added to the water. Unfortunately, the Haverhill City Council was not apprised of this issue by the mayor when it occurred in December. We are just finding out about it now, along with citizens, Mitchison told WHAV. I'm assured by Deputy Public Works Director Bob Ward that no citizen was put at risk, he added. While the mailing notes residents need not to take any action, such as boiling water, it also contained precautionary information about risk to people with compromised immune systems, infants, and some elderly. Mitchison said the additional information, while required by the state, created fear. The notice follows strict guidelines and thus unfortunately does not clearly state that the public was not put at risk, the council president said. City Council has already had an item related to the water treatment plant on its agenda this week. The item, scheduled to be placed on file for the required 2 weeks, would allow borrowing another $3.7 million for an already $37.5 million improvement project at the treatment plant. People from around the Merrimack Valley in southern New Hampshire braved single-digit temperatures and 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts for a shot at appearing as extras in an upcoming movie. Julie Arverdon Knowlton, casting director for Slate Casting of Boston, estimated by the 3 in the afternoon about 2,500 people showed up at American Legion Post number 4, 1314 Main Street. Originally planned to start at 10 a.m., the casting company swung open the door to the function room ahead of time to accommodate early arrivals waiting in their cars or huddled around the parking lot in sub-freezing temperatures. People continued to arrive throughout the day in groups of from 10 to 20 at a time. Once the doors opened, everyone was able to get in and out of the elements as they waited turns to sign up. Extras chosen from the casting call will be used in Daddy's Home 2, a movie sequel to a comedy starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg that was released in 2015. Both actors will be back in the sequel. Production of the film is expected to begin later this spring. Live and locally performed music and special tributes highlight Thursday night's formal dedication of 97.9 WHAV and celebration of the 70th anniversary of the original WHAV in Haverhill. Rick O'Shea, a broadcast veteran who first came to WHAV in 1984, serves as Master of Ceremonies for the 97.9 WHAV inauguration ceremony. He introduces local and state officials paying tribute to the new radio station and musical selections from local singer-songwriter Latria Masters and senior members of the Haverhill High School Chorus. Expected to deliver dedicatory greetings and citations are Representative Brian Dempsey, Chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Haverhill Mayor James Fiorentini, City Council President John Mitchison. Other members of the Haverhill City Council and School Committee and administration are also expected. A citation from Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker will be read. The new WHAV-FM signed on in late September with a larger on-air footprint than the original WHAV-AM, blanketing the city of Haverhill and reaching all area communities. WHAV members and distinguished guests are invited to attend the inaugural ceremony Thursday, March 16th, 6 o'clock at Maria's Galleria Banquet Room, 85 Essex Street. The dedication will also be broadcast live at 97.9 FM. Although there is no cost for WHAV members, seating is limited and registration is required. Register at whav.net. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says she will seek permission to hold a new referendum on Scottish independence. Ms. Sturgeon says a vote is necessary as the UK heads out of the European Union. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett reports.
With the UK poised to hit Article 50 to trigger 2 years of negotiations with Brussels on its EU exit, Nicola Sturgeon says the Scottish people should be able to decide again on independence as the UK heads for what she calls a hard Brexit.
It is important that Scotland is able to exercise the right to choose our own future at a time when the options are clearer than they are now, but before it is too late to decide our own path.
Scotland voted by a wide margin to stay in the EU in last year's poll. Scotland also voted against becoming independent in a referendum in 2014. Nicola Sturgeon says a new vote should be held between autumn 2018 and spring 2019. The government in London would have to approve her request for a fresh referendum.
Poland says it is pursuing the arrest and extradition of a man living in the U.S. state of Minnesota for Nazi war crimes committed during World War II. The Associated Press first confirmed back in 2013 that Michael Karkosh was a commander in the SS-led Ukrainian Self-Defense Legion. Our U.S. correspondent Priscilla Huff has more.
The son, Andrei Karkosh, insists there's nothing in the historical record that indicates his father had any role whatsoever in any type of war crime activity. But following the Associated Press reporting, Polish prosecutor Robert Janicki is 100% convinced 98-year-old Michael Karkosh of Minneapolis was the same man who carried out the pacification of Polish villages in the Lublin region in 1944. Dozens of civilians were killed and 2 villages were set on fire. His family insists Michael Karkosh has Alzheimer's, and he's not the man in the records uncovered by the AP.
The United Nations Children's Organization UNICEF has announced that 2016 was the deadliest year for Syrian children in the country's civil war. Over 650 children were killed in the conflict last year, marking a 20% rise from the year before. Here's our United Nations correspondent, William Denzelo.
After 6 years of fighting, UNICEF estimate that 6 million children in Syria now rely on humanitarian assistance. The United Nations report titled Hitting Rock Bottom states that over 850 children were recruited to fight in 2016. And in some extreme cases, they were used as prison guards, executioners or suicide bombers. UNICEF urge all parties in the conflict to end what they describe as grave violations against children.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather, and we've got a winter storm warning, 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tuesday, also a blizzard watch from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday. For tonight, cloudy with snow breaking out by daybreak, a low near 20. Snow heavy at times. Tuesday turning windy. Accumulations 12 to 18 inches by the end of the day. Temperature will be close to 30. Snow will taper off Tuesday evening, then it's cloudy and windy with a low near 20. Cloudy and windy, a few snow showers on Wednesday near 30. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
For live and local talk, listen to the Open Mic Show, Monday nights. You can also see the program at WHAV.tv. WHAV, the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
WHAV, Merrimack Valley, Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And welcome back to the Open Mic Show. Here we have Tom Duggan, publisher of the Valley Patriot, right here in our studios to discuss his new book, Heroes in Our Midst. And this is just what a tremendous honor. And by the way, folks, I have to tell you, and you can't tell, it really doesn't do justice to the book to look at an image online, because this is a pretty thick book, loaded with information. I've already been surprised by one thing I've seen. There's another. I mean, every page is it's pretty fascinating. But let's talk a little bit with Tom first. Or maybe we'll just kind of jump in at different angles. Let's start with the first one. Tom, what motivated you to begin writing about veterans? Because they appear in every issue of the Valley Patriot. Is that right?
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody asked me that right after we wrote the book, and I didn't have an answer for them. I had to actually think about it. I went home and I'm like, well, how did we stop putting veterans on the front page? And when we had first started the Valley Patriot newspaper in March of 2004, one of the things that we did was we grabbed every single newspaper we could, went through them and circled the things that we liked and crossed out the things that we didn't like. And after about 3 days of doing that, we just decided to throw all of them on the floor and just not do any of it. And we grabbed the Eagle Tribune and said, let's do the exact opposite of everything they do. The only time this may be a little different now because they've changed a little bit. At the time in 2004, the only time you read about a veteran in the Eagle Tribune was when there was a domestic violence situation, or they were shooting somebody up, or they were beating somebody up, or they were dishonorably discharged for some reason. And the veterans really got kind of crapped on a lot for the last, at least for the first 30 years of my life.
Well, actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe that explains something. I noticed that you like and share very often when WHAV runs an obit, because we always show what branch of the service they were in, and we put that right in the headline, because I think that was a very important part of their contributions to society, and we believe in putting in this stuff. So maybe that explains that. So go on.
So we started drafting out our first edition. The first edition didn't have a veteran on the cover. It was under the editorial. We had the editorial, and then at the bottom, our plan was every month to just kind of highlight a local veteran. The first one we ever did was Jim Cassidy from North Andover.
What year was that again?
2004, March of 2004.
Okay.
And Jim was extremely well known. He was the founder of the North Andover Taxpayers Association. He was commander of the American Legion Post 219. Did a lot of volunteer work in the community that had nothing to do with veterans. And we got so many emails from people after that first month thanking us for doing anything for a veteran. Even though it was like a 2-paragraph thing with his picture on it, people were impressed by that. And I was shocked that people were impressed by that, because there's not really much to be impressed about. It was a paragraph and a half in a picture.
But more than most have seen in years.
Yeah. So as we went, we expanded it from a couple of paragraphs to 5 or 6 paragraphs, and then I think like around the 5th or 6th month, somebody suggested, well, why don't you just go interview these guys and tell their story rather than just like a bio on who they are? And so we did. We started interviewing veterans, writing their story from their perspective, and not interjecting our political opinions or our opinions about what the wars that they were in or anything. Just highlighting their service. Whether you like I know a couple of veterans, we don't get along very well. Right? They just happen to be veterans, but they're people I don't get along with. I still have tremendous respect for those guys, because like them or not, they put their safety on the line. They went off to war. They fought for this country, or they were willing to fight and die for this country. Some of them didn't actually fight, but they were willing to fight. They were willing to die for their country. And my grandfather was a World War II vet, and I think that kind of was like the foundation of all of this. When I first got asked, why did you write the book, I went back in my head to, well, why did we start writing the Valley Patriot of the Month? And why was that so important to us at the time? And I started thinking about my grandfather. My grandfather, Everett Martell, was a World War II veteran. He served on the USS Admiral Hughes. He was on Corregidor when they liberated Corregidor. So the guys that were in the march on Corregidor that had been captured by the Japanese and tortured, the guys that survived, they were the ones that went and liberated them, gave them medical care, brought them onto the ship, and transported them home. Most veterans don't like to talk about their service. I got very, very lucky. I knock on wood. My grandfather loved talking about his service in the military. I think it was his coping mechanism. So my grandmother would yell at him, "I'm tired of hearing that story again about Corregidor." And I'd tell him, "Shh, as soon as she leaves the room, you can finish telling me the story." And he loved it.
So he inspired you.
Yeah, he really did. And he was a cook. He didn't do anything tremendously heroic. He was a cook on the Admiral Hughes. He went on to Corregidor when they had to liberate the island. But it was the things that he saw and the stories that the liberated POWs told him on the ship coming back that I remembered so much. And that always just gave me a tremendous respect. And of course, I was raised in a police family, so we had the respect for police, fire, veterans, that kind of thing to begin with.
Let me ask you this: so at the time they appeared in the Valley Patriot, all of the veterans were living. None of these were posthumous.
Right. There was only one that we did that was posthumous. That was former Lawrence Mayor Mike Sullivan's dad, because they had dedicated a square to him a couple of years ago. I think it was actually last year.
He was just in our offices last week.
Oh, was he? So Mike called me and said, "Geez, could you really do something for my dad?" And I'm never going to say no to that, especially for a veteran. So we highlighted him, but he was the only one of the 138 veterans now that we've done. He's the only one I think that was done posthumously. And some of the veterans that we covered, after we covered them, Harvey Gibo was one of the World War II veterans that we covered probably in 2006 or 7. He died 5 years later, so when they die, we rerun the story and let people know that this veteran has passed on, and in case you didn't know what their story is, we're going to rerun it.
Oh, great idea. Nice salute.
And we get almost no input from the public at all in the newspaper. And you're in radio. If 5 people call in, 5,000 people are listening because nobody calls.
That's right.
Right. So with the paper, we get almost no feedback at all on most of the stuff that we do. But on that stuff, we do. And so whenever I get feedback like that, I say, if 5 people call, there's 100 people out there who are happy about it. Let's do more of that.
No, it's like a sample. Yeah. Well, I should take a brief break, but I want to remind listeners that Tom Duggan, publisher of the Valley Patriot and author of this book, Heroes in Our Midst, is willing to take your telephone calls, 978-374 1900. Again, 978-374-1900. And we're going to go to a brief break for Community Spotlight. We're going to grab a call on the other side. So, caller, if you just hold on for us, we'll be right back.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Try listening to WHAV in your car or anywhere on your mobile phone. For fast access, visit WHAV.net.
Catch the wave!
This is Tom Hartman inviting you to tune into the Tom Hartman program on WHAV every weekday beginning at noon. I'm here 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, taking your calls live and providing all the news you need to know. The Tom Hartman program is your media support group for we the people. Again, please join me weekdays beginning at noon right here on WHAV. Remember, only local radio can bring you this progressive talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight!
The Veterans Northeast Outreach Center, founded in 1985, was established to address the needs of veterans and their families throughout the Merrimack Valley. The Outreach Center is located at 10 Reed Street in Haverhill. Some of the services provided by the center include providing information, referrals, and registration assistance for health care benefits. In conjunction with other local agencies, the center also provides employment assistance services for veterans. For more information about these and other services available to veterans and their families, contact the Veterans Northeast Outreach Center at 978-372-3626. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at WHAV.net or email news@WHAV.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Diane Carr.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
We're back here on the Open Mic Show. Tom Duggan, publisher of the Valley Patriot, is my guest. I'm Tim Coco. He has just recently, I guess I should ask, when did the book Heroes in Our Midst come out? It first came out on Kindle, is that right?
It did. February, I'm guessing like the 18th.
Oh, it's
somewhere around.
not that long ago.
Yeah.
All right. I have a call waiting. Again, I don't know how close it is to this subject, but we're going to put him on the air. You are on the Open Mic Show. Caller,
Hi,
are
Tim.
you? Yes.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, sir.
You there?
Yes, sir.
We're here. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you. And congratulations to you, Tim, for your inaugural party that you're having this Thursday evening. And I know Tom Duggan quite well, and he's a very good writer. I enjoy reading the Valley Patriot.
Thank you.
On a monthly basis.
Can I give out your name? Because I suddenly realize who this is.
Oh, you know who it is? Sure, of course.
This is Attorney Joseph C. Edwards, and he is my fellow commissioner. He's the chairman of the Haverhill Liquor License Commission.
One of my favorite people in the world.
All right, so Joe Edwards. Well, by the way, Tommy and Tom. Sorry, I keep.
No,
doing
you can
that.
call me Tommy.
But Joe is going to be hosting a sports program on WHAV as soon as we get past some of these activities we're on, and find him a producer. And we had his radio screen test a few weeks ago, and really, this guy's been holding back a career in broadcasting.
Joe's a good guy. I've known Joe for years and years and years when he used to work on Essex Street as an attorney.
Same thing for you, Tom. So I do enjoy the paper, and I think it's a great topic for your book. There are so many unsung heroes in the Merrimack Valley between Korea and Vietnam and the Middle East and World War II, World War I. It's just amazing how many of our men and women went to war, and some didn't come back, and some came back different people than when they went away.
Right. You know, it's funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's great that you're recognizing them, and it's great. This is really a good show. I'm enjoying every minute of it. I think it's just a perfect topic.
Well, I normally don't get that when I'm on radio, Tim. So it must be because of you, because it's probably.
No, it's a good topic.
Yeah,
well, listen, I honestly, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I like your hat, Tom. It's great.
Oh, thank you. I forget we're on TV, so. My assistant Beth got me this because I'm bald.
Well,
so.
maybe we should tell our radio listeners what the hat is.
It just says USA on it.
And red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue with the
perfect for the night.
For the Valley Patriot, sure.
Yeah, I was watching you on Facebook while I was listening.
Oh, great. I was actually going to podcast this live on my Facebook page while we were doing it. I'm like,
what's what we're doing?
Why do I want to upstage Tim Coco? The guy's nice enough to have me on. Why would I do that?
No, you can just share the page.
Right.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, share it. So, thanks to both of you for such an entertaining show tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
have
Joe.
Tons of listeners, and keep up the good work.
I've always said I will not come back to radio to do a show ever again, but I will certainly come back to WHAV anytime he wants me to come on to talk about something.
You heard that, Joe. That's legal, right?
Yes, it is. Yep. Offer and acceptance.
All right.
Now.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm a little spoiled on radio.
We need
after
some
my
consideration here, so I'll find a dollar bill. I think that'll work. Okay, thank you so much, Joe.
All right.
Really appreciate your
night,
call.
both of you.
All right, thank you so much.
I was going to use that as an opportunity to rip on my former radio station, but I'm not going to do that. No, that would be wrong if I mentioned WCAP. That would be wrong.
That
would be wrong of me.
Can you close that phone, because I got an echo in my ear? All right, so that was Joseph Edwards, attorney at law here in
God, I've
Haverhill.
known him forever. I've known him since I was a kid.
And you've had also a long association. It's funny. We must know everybody in common.
We do.
And yet we don't do that. Okay, here's the book. Those on television, you can kind of see the cover. On radio, I'm going to ask Tom to describe. This looks like some kind of an event, a reunion, or a parade. Tom, tell us what's happening on the cover of the book, Heroes in Our Midst.
So every year I go to the Memorial Day services in North Andover. I live in North Andover. I've been in North Andover since 2001, I think. I've been to all of the Memorial Day services, Lawrence, Methuen, Andover, North Andover, even Haverhill. I think North Andover does a tremendous job, and it's a lot easier to get to from my office. So I'm standing there, and I'm taking a bunch of pictures for the Memorial Day thing, and we videotape it every year. And in 2006, I was standing there, and when they did the presentation of colors, all of the World War II veterans stood first, like before anybody else, in unison, as if it was practice, but we know it wasn't. And they all stood and they saluted at the same time, and I just happened to snap the picture while that was going on. And I said at the time, we posted it on Facebook, we put it in the paper, and I said at the time, someday this picture is going to be in a book, it's going to be in a magazine, it's going to be something, because just look at these guys, look at their faces, I mean, the detail in it. I'm not a great photographer, but I looked at the picture and said, this is a great photo. And so when we were putting the book together, I years later, I went to my go-to file, and all like my favorite pictures that I've taken, like some lightning pictures, I've got some kind of cool lightning pictures. Whenever I take like a really great picture, I put it into like my favorite folder, and I started going through my favorite folder, and the second I saw that picture, I was like, you know what? I was right. The day I took that picture, I said that was going to be something someday. That's the cover of my book.
That's a wonderful photograph. I mean, it really does stand
And you got
out.
Lenny Anair, an amazing World War II hero on the front. I know Lenny. I know his family, the Hood family in North Andover. Lenny is just such an amazing guy. Even in his 90s, he's down at the VFW trying to help them every single week, trying to help them raise money for veterans, trying to spread the word about veterans, trying to organize Memorial Day and Veterans Day and Flag Day services. I can't say enough. My very first book went to Lenny Anair. When I got the very first book from Amazon, I drove down to the VFW and I left it there for him and I signed it for him. And it was an honor to be able to do that.
Pardon me if you just reminded me of something with the veterans organizations. And if this is a little bit off topic, I apologize, but I'm curious about something. And it isn't just veterans organizations, but almost all organizations seem to be having trouble with new volunteers and people to keep these legacies going. And in Haverhill, you may be aware that VFW it's going to remain an organization, but it has closed its building on Canosa Avenue, and I wonder if you've observed this dynamic, and is it that people don't care, or is it that something has happened in our society that they don't have time, or what would I don't want to feed you the answer.
Listen, I can give you 2 hours on this because I'm a radio guy. We've become a narcissistic society that only cares about ourselves. And in the old days, I was raised, I'm sure you were raised, that service above self is important. When I was a kid, I was a Cub Scout. I was, my parents got me involved to go down and help on Flag Day to put flags on the veterans' graves. My parents raised me to be someone who thought about service above self. And today, what we see, especially from the millennial generation back, everything is ADD. Everything's about what's in front of me right now. Everything's about what's going to service my immediate need or immediate thought or immediate want right now. And as those of us in the older generation now, I'm officially old. I got my AARP card in the mail on my birthday last week, so that was tremendous.
I got mine 5 years ago, so there.
Still makes you feel old, doesn't it? So, from my generation back, it just seems like there really isn't the same amount of reverence and respect for veterans. Now, part of that also is, I think, my opinion, is that we haven't seen real horrors since Vietnam. We haven't seen real horror since Hitler, since Vietnam, since that era. And I think when you don't see it, when you don't experience, when you don't have veterans coming back from it, you forget. And I think that's part of it. I think we forget what the tremendous sacrifice is. Even though we've got guys in Afghanistan, we've got guys in Iraq, all CNN wants to talk about is, Donald Trump tied his shoes the wrong way yesterday. And it's going to be a 4-hour panel discussion on that instead of, we lost 5 guys in Fallujah yesterday. They're not talking about that.
That's an excellent observation, actually, because the media has kind of echoed what you were talking about, this generational thing, which is more of the topical and the fun and not the depth and not the reality, perhaps.
Style over substance. And really going back to the Clinton years, I think that's really when it started. Everything became about style over substance. Everything became about how it looks, not how it really is.
Well, no, my father is a World War II veteran. Now,
Which theater?
He came in late, like day before the Japanese surrender. But he's still considered a veteran of the war.
Right.
And he didn't have the kind of dramatic kind of service one might expect. He was in Greenland, and most people
good place to be during World War II.
But it was a very important base, and so he didn't see any real action. But I will tell you that he had, like many Italian Americans, had a large family, 8 brothers. Almost all of them went to war. And, of course, some were older. And my uncle, Anthony, his ship was torpedoed in half by the Japanese in the Pacific. And it was something he never talked about. I mean, dozens of people were killed all around him. His ship was split in half.
You know why they don't talk about it? We figured it out last week. I'm not kidding. I've been doing this Veterans in Our Midst, Heroes in Our Midst since we started the paper. I've been trying to honor veterans my whole life. And last week we were talking to our hero veteran that we honored this month, Rich Russell. He was in Vietnam. Some of the things that he saw while we were interviewing him, he didn't want to talk about. But Rich has been a friend, like a personal friend for a long time. So I said, listen, why? Can you just put all the other stuff aside? Just tell me. Why is it that these veterans, some of them will talk about it, but most of them don't want to? And his answer was really, when he said it, and then he walked out of the office, I was stunned for 20 minutes thinking about it, and this was his answer. He said, I don't know that other people can handle the horrors that I saw. If I explain to them some of the things that I saw, some of the things that I experienced and what it did to me, I don't want them to look at me funny. I don't want them to look at me as damaged. I don't think they can handle the horrors of what we experienced in Vietnam. And I walked away thinking, our World War II vets were tortured by the Japanese, by the Nazis and Nazi concentration camps. Maybe that's why they don't want to. And they're never going to say it because maybe they don't even understand it themselves. But the fact that they went through such horrors, they don't want this next generation to know that horror.
That's a very interesting observation. But circling back, then we have to take a break for weather. Circling back, though, my father, though, unlike what we see today, Korea was not his war, if you will, And I guess that's maybe the distinction I'm trying to make without being so eloquent as you about this. But he was devoted to helping Korean vets raise money for a memorial, and devoted to helping them. And so I don't know what it is, if it's that all for one and one for all, and it doesn't matter which war you were in. But it's just a certain ethic I see among veterans that, and I hate to think that it takes a war to get that kind of ethics, and that's too bad. But we have to take a break for local weather. Get ready for tomorrow, folks. We'll talk about some of the cancellations coming up in a little bit. If you want to talk to Tom Duggan, publisher of the Valley Patriot. I'm going to say Patriot of the Valley Publisher.
That could work.
Might work. He's written this book, Heroes in Our Midst.
Available on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble.
Very good. And then, matter of fact, we'll give you a link on our website, and I have a selfish reason for that, too.
Okay,
but
sure.
It doesn't hurt your profit, but we get a piece of the action.
Absolutely.
Ours. We do that.
Spread the love.
But then 978-374-1900. You can talk to Tom. 978-374-1900. We'll be back in just a second.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:36.
Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Catch the wave!
On air or online, 97.9 WHAV serves you. Twice an hour weekdays, keep up to date with exclusive local news. Find out more about civic events on Community Spotlight every quarter hour, and better prepare with wave weather every 30 minutes. For talk, there's Tom Hartman, weekdays at noon, and the Open Mic Show Monday nights. Mass Moments, Melinda's Garden Moment, Civil Liberties Minute, Workers' Independent News, and Jim Hightower complete the spectrum. Hear classic comedy and drama 7 nights a week at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Finally, a unique blend of hits from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, as well as soft gold at night. Stay with 97.9 WHAV, the only behavioral-based news source.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather, and we've got a winter storm warning, 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tuesday. Also a blizzard watch from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday. For tonight, cloudy with snow breaking out by daybreak, a low near 20. Snow heavy at times. Tuesday turning windy. Accumulations 12 to 18 inches by the end of the day. Temperature will be close to 30. Snow will taper off Tuesday evening, then it's cloudy and windy with a low near 20. Cloudy and windy, a few snow showers on Wednesday near 30. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Easy listening of you and WHAV.
Jeff?
I guess that's
all right.
that's
Guess
my
that's us.
call now. The jingle. All right, that's an old jingle. Those of you who are jingle collectors, it's from Pepper Tanner. They made this jingle for WHAV in the 1960s. It appeared on other stations as well, and then customized for WHAV. And why are we running this? Well, because this week, Thursday night, 6 o'clock at Maria's Galleria Banquet Hall in downtown Haverhill, the 70th anniversary of WHAV in Haverhill, but more importantly for us, the formal dedication of the new FM 97.9 WHAV. All right, but we are back with Tom Duggan, Patriot of the Valley Publisher, or the
you were going to do it sooner or later.
Publisher of the Valley Patriot. Well, you are a patriot.
I am. I try to be a patriot.
For putting this book together, Heroes in Our Midst. Tell us about the forewords. You have some prominent people there. Tell us who wrote in the front of the book.
Well, I've been very good friends since probably since September. Well, I'm going to say September, but it might not have been. It might have been August of 2006. I met Francisco Urena. He had just come back from Iraq, Kuwait. He got off the airport, got out at the airport, went home, heard on his way home that there was a big flood in Lawrence. Went to his apartment, put down his luggage, got in his car, drove to where the flood was, and started handing out food to people that had been displaced. Wow. I was there taking pictures at the time, so I see this guy come walking up. He goes over to the mayor, introduces himself, says, "I'm just here to help." Didn't say I just got back from Iraq. It's not like he was there patting himself. He just jumped in and helped. So we took his picture. We chatted with him a little bit, and we saw him a couple days later and started talking to him about what was going on with the flood. And he started telling me the story about how he was coming back from Iraq and he had gone. Well, within probably 4 or 5 months, and my time frames are always off because I don't sleep much, so don't hold me to time frames, but I'm going to say within a few months, Mike Sullivan called him and tapped him and hired him to be the Veteran Services Officer for the city of Lawrence. Oh. So a lot of the veterans that are in the book are people that when Francisco Urena was working for the city of Lawrence, he would call me and say, "Wow, I just met an amazing veteran. You guys should call this guy and put him in the paper." So a lot of the local heroes that we have featured, although we never really gave him credit for it because he doesn't want credit, came from Francisco Urena. Well, Francisco Urena went from being the Veteran Services Officer for the city of Lawrence to being the Veteran Services Officer for Mayor Menino in Boston. And then when Mayor Menino in Boston passed away and Charlie Baker became governor, Charlie Baker tapped him to be his Veteran Services Officer for the state. So we had written a story about Francisco. Actually, we'd written 2 stories about Francisco. And as I was wrapping up writing the book and I was editing his chapter, I sent him an instant message on Facebook and said, "Would you be interested in writing a foreword for the book?" And he was thrilled. He said he'd be happy to do it. And within a couple of days, I ran into another friend who's highlighted in the book, State Representative here from Haverhill, Linda Campbell. And she is also someone that we highlighted. Both her and her husband were veterans. So we did a chapter on both of them together. They actually met while they were in Germany while they were both serving.
I didn't know that.
And they ended up getting married. Yeah, so...
No, I have asked her to be on the program. I think we're just kind of working through her scheduling office.
Well, tell her you're a friend of mine, and it'll probably make it a little easier for you. I don't have many friends, but the ones that I do...
Well, I won't interrupt this conversation, but I think there's some interesting other topics, and now I'll add that dimension to it. So I appreciate that. Now, I suppose some people listening want to hear some names. And I know that we're going to leave out somebody, and I hope we don't hurt anybody's feelings, because they're all very important. But which people jump out at you?
I have to tell you, one of the people that actually inspired me to take all this stuff and write it as a book, I met John Katsaros the first time at a Tea Party meeting. He came to talk about his book, and he did a slideshow presentation. And I was in such awe when I left. I couldn't believe it. I went to the next Tea Party meeting, and he came back to do, I think, his part 2. He was doing it in 2 parts, I think. And he was selling his book, or he was giving it away. I bought a book. Anyways, long story short, he signed it. Asked him to come on my radio show at the time on another network. He came in, and I videotaped the interview. And I transcribed it, and we put it in the paper. And a couple of months later, some veteran from California saw the YouTube video of the interview and called me and said, you should write a story about this guy. You're a publisher. You should write a story about this guy. I said, I already did. So I emailed him over the thing, and he wrote it back and said, how do I get his book? This is an amazing story. So about maybe 5 or 6 years later, again, don't hold me to time frames, I'm at my warehouse, and I'm looking. We have saved 2 bundles of every edition going back to March of 2004. I don't know why I'm a pack rat, but I've got a warehouse where we've got one room that's just got old newspapers in it, and they're all face down. So the bottom part of the Valley Patriot, if you can see it, is always a veteran. Right? There's a veteran on that one. There's a veteran on this one. So they're all face up, and I'm looking at all these veterans, and one of them was John Katsaros, and I started thinking about his book, and I started thinking, we've been in business now for going on almost 13 years, and the one thing that we've consistently done is honor veterans. I wonder if we could take all these stories and compile them. I wonder if we would buy this. So I went home, I went on Facebook, and I said, if I took all of our Valley Patriots of the Month and I compiled them into a book, anybody out there think that that's something that they would buy? Is that something that you would want to buy? Is it something that you would do? And I got an overwhelming response from people saying that they would love something like that. So that's what we did. We went back, and my assistant Beth and I went through every single edition of the paper, pulled the text, pulled the headlines out, pulled the pictures out, put them in a new document, and started arranging it to be a book.
Wow, wonderful. John Katsaros, what you might not know is was a 27-year veteran of WHAV as well.
I did not know that.
He did play-by-play.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah, he's a sports guy.
Yeah, and so he was at our reunion of the Radio Stars last June. I hope we'll see him on Thursday. But his book, just so if you don't mind us co-promoting, Code Burgundy.
Code Burgundy. Amazing book. Here's a guy that got captured by the Nazis, escaped. They recaptured and tortured the living hell out of this guy. And he escaped a third. Talk about the gall of escaping a third time before he finally made his way through the Underground Railroad into France and was finally liberated. And the stories, I'm sure he left out a lot. And just the stuff that he didn't leave out that he put in the book, it's harrowing. You get goosebumps thinking about how any human being could go through that and still have what a great positive attitude. If you've ever met John Katsaros, you'd never know the horrors that this guy lived. He's just got such a positive attitude. He's always happy. He's always laughing.
Yeah, and he is also very active. Now, I'm not going to embarrass anybody. Maybe he wouldn't be by asking his age, but he is very, very active in the community to this very day, and really one of Haverhill's best advocates. But I'll tell you what, we have to take a break for a movie review this hour. But when we come back, we're going to talk about some more names and, again, how you can get this book right after this review. We'll let Chris take it.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system, this is 97.9 WHAV.
Catch the wave!
Suspense, a weekly anthology of notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented every Monday night to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense. Listen to the new Suspense with a company of Hollywood actors and surprising guest stars, Monday nights at 10, with encore performances at 1 a.m., right here on WHAV. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. This week, not La La Land. Barry Jenkins' Moonlight has won this year's Oscar for Best Picture, and for anyone who doubts the effectiveness of protest, I point you to last year's Oscars So White campaign. For a group that wants to be seen as a champion of quality in Hollywood, and which also wanted desperately to step out of the spotlight shown on its narrow racial vision, the Motion Picture Academy must have praised Moonlight as a gift from the gods. First of all, there's little that white people like more than watching stories about blacks, poverty, drugs, and the inner city. Thus, on its surface, Moonlight offers an easy sell, but Moonlight is not your daddy's urban youth story. Based on In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue by MacArthur Genius Grant playwright Terrell Alvin McRaney, Moonlight takes the measure of responsibility, masculinity, sexuality, love, and forgiveness. Director Barry Jenkins calls it a hood art house coming-of-age LGBT drama. In 3 acts, we look at the life of Chiron, a young black male growing up in Liberty City, Miami, grippingly played by Alex Hibbert, Ashton Sanders, and Trevante Rhodes as a boy, a teen, and a young man, respectively. Their performances are stunning, and the cast of supporting actors headed by Naomi Harris, Janelle Monáe, and Marshala Ali is equally as great. However, the real star of this film is director Jenkins, who weaves Moonlight's 3 vignettes together to create a tense, terse, near new wave-like gumbo. Under Jenkins' confident hand, we watch Chiron struggle not just with his burgeoning homosexuality, but also with a world of deprivation and violence, a world where moments of tenderness come to you, like the occasional piece of driftwood to the drowning swimmer. Fortunately, Best Picture means this film is not yet another piece of black cinema set adrift. You see, it's a good thing if the Oscars aren't so white. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. Catch up with us at TakeTwoMovieReview.com and feed us back on our page on YouTube.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
It's the perfect combination. Easy listening and you and WHAV.
Another old jingle from WHAV's past from the 1960s. WHAV turns 70 years old. The call letters in Haverhill, 70 years old. This Thursday night, 6 o'clock at Maria's. And you too could come. Open Mic Show members, just give Chris a call, 978-374-1900, and reserve your place. And we'll be very happy to have you. Seats are filling fast. You've got to make a reservation. You can also do it online at WHAV.net. Just look for the image with all the balloons. Now, speaking of events, we're going to try. I want to just make sure we work this in. We'll take this a little bit out of order. But you know, Tom Duggan is doing something even more special than writing these wonderful stories about all of these veterans in the Merrimack Valley. And you have an annual event. Is that right? Tell us, first of all, what the event is, when it's happening, and about some of the ideas about making sure that every veteran gets a copy of this wonderful book.
Yeah, so we do what we call our annual bash. When we call it a bash, because it doesn't fit in any category. Like any event you go to, you know what it is, right? When we put this together, it was a whole bunch of different things. We didn't know what to call it. Was it a charity event? Was it an event to honor veterans? Was it an event to honor police officers? We had all these things we wanted to do, so we just called it a bash. Put a whole bunch of stuff together. And our first event, it was just really to celebrate the anniversary of the paper. On our 8th anniversary, I was shocked that we made it 8 months, much less 8 years. And so we had this little anniversary party at the VFW North Andover. And Jim Lyons, the state rep, and Bruce Tyler, state senator, and Charlie Baker before he was governor, they all showed up and they gave us stuff. And it was, a proclamation and, congratulations. And one was like a $100 gift certificate to like Burger King or something to thank the Valley Patriot for what we do. And we walked out of there with all this stuff in our hands going, this is not what we wanted to do. We just wanted to celebrate our anniversary. But if people are willing to come and bring us stuff, maybe they'd be willing to come and get stuff. And so my girlfriend at the time, Penny, and I had a long discussion about we honor veterans in the paper, we honor police officers in the paper, we honor firefighters in the paper. Why don't we have an annual event where we honor them at the event? So the following year, we went to the Relief Center in Lawrence, and we started doing awards. So we give an award to 2 hero veterans. And the criteria is they have to be veterans who, after they came home, did something to help veterans. Every veteran that went out, put their life on the line or was willing to put their life on the line, but some of them come home and go back to their regular life, and that's great. But some of them come home and they continue to serve their fellow Marines or Air Force or Navy men by helping the veterans that come back that are having a hard time. So we have our Hero Veteran Award. We also give out, my dad was a cop. He was murdered in Lawrence in 1990, so we give out the Officer Tom Duggan Hero Public Safety Award to one police officer, one firefighter. And we also give scholarships to local kids. And we do like a whole bunch of other awards, like a First Amendment Award and, a Great Writer Award and all that stuff. But we really wanted the focus to be on honoring veterans, respecting police officers and firefighters, and doing something for them that other people aren't doing. I didn't want to just do an event like everybody else does, and then they go home and it's the same thing as every other thing they go to.
No, I understand.
So we give out scholarships to kids at Lawrence High and the Voc. This year we're also giving the Methuen Police Union is giving 3 scholarships to kids who are sons or daughters of police officers. We've got Joe Zingalis from, I don't know if we can say Team Zingalis Remax, donated $2,000 for scholarship money. So what we started off, the first year we had 2 scholarship winners, and I think this year we're going to end up with 8. Wow. Because people, every year we add on. So to answer you, I guess, is a roundabout way to get to your original question. We were sitting around this year trying to figure out how we could get this, because the book came out, and it's already been out, and the Valley Patriot Bash is next Friday. How do we get one of these books into every veteran's hand that comes? If 100 veterans show up, I can't afford to buy 100 books, right? It's $2,500, whatever that turns out to be.
The books aren't free even to the authors.
Right, yeah. I paid for my own book. And one of our committee members said, well, geez, we're sitting in the office having this meeting and we're looking at this pile of books that I had just ordered. And he said, geez, it'd be great if we could give every veteran a book, but how do we afford to do that? And someone else said, why don't we just do what we always do, just get someone else to pay for it and sponsor it? Because that's pretty much what we do at this bash is we just extort all of our friends that are in business.
To help the community.
Right, and we get them to give us money, then we give the money to the charities that we like, and then we get credit for it, which is amazing, right?
Oh, okay. It's funny how you've revealed your whole secret here.
Absolutely. And what's funny is that a lot of people who give to our bash every year don't want to be recognized, either because they're just really altruistic people, or because if they get recognized, there's a lot of other nonprofits out there that like to rummage through the programs of other nonprofits and then call and harass their donors to give to them.
I see what you're
and when they say no, like I had a guy say to me yesterday, please don't put my name in the book. Please don't put my name on Facebook. Last year I asked you not to. You thought I was being altruistic. And you did it anyway. And I got calls all year from nonprofits saying, well, you gave Duggan $500. You can't give us $100. So a lot of people give anonymously, which is great. We know who they are, and we thank them in our own ways.
Misunderstand the purpose of charity.
Right, yeah.
Well, okay, so that's so you're looking for sponsors. How could someone step up? Either an email or a phone number, or what's a good way for a sponsor to step up and say, I would like a veteran to have your book?
You could email me at valleypatriot@aol.com. You can call my office if you've got a Valley Patriot around. Our phone number's on page 2. Or if you really want to, you can go to the Eventbrite page for our event that we're having next week, because we have a spot where you can just make a donation if you can't come but you want to make a donation. And if in the memo box you just want to put, I donated $25 for one book or $50 for 2 books, just let us know what it's for. And I'm going to say for the first time publicly, I haven't posted this on Facebook yet, we've got at least 100 veterans coming. Every veteran is going to get a book, whether they're sponsored or not. So if I have to take it out of my pocket to make sure every veteran that leaves has one of these books, that's what we're going to do.
All right. Well, isn't that generous of you? And the bash is when, and how might someone attend? Because that also helps support.
Sure. It's next Friday night, March 24th, at the Firefighters Relief Inn in Lawrence at 1 Market Street. It's the old Knights of Columbus. Most people remember it as the Knights of Columbus. Doors open at 6. The B Street Bombers are going to be playing when you walk in the door. The food's going to be ready when you walk in the door. At 7 o'clock, we begin the program. We give out the scholarships first. Then we have some comedians coming. We have Johnny Joyce is coming in from Vegas, comedian. Our keynote speaker is the newly elected Essex County Sheriff, Kevin Coppinger.
Wonderful. Been on this program.
Yeah. We've got a couple of guest speakers, Steve Zani, the mayor of Methuen, Mike Sullivan, the former mayor of Lawrence, Somehow Dan Rivera always gets a microphone. I'm not sure how that happens. He's not on the program, but he does. And we've even got guys like Jeff Riley who hate my guts. And Charlie Body, the Lawrence city attorney, are going to get up and roast me. So this is.
Oh, well, that should sell some tickets.
Yeah, so we have people who like me in the room. We have people who hate me in the room. But we're all putting our differences aside to help veterans, to help give money for scholarships, and to honor police officers and firefighters. I think it's a tremendous thing that there are people that we do business with that hate us. I think that's awesome. But even more awesome than that, they're willing to come to our event, be in the same room with me, even though they hate me, and do something to help veterans because they believe that their love for veterans is more important than their hatred for me. And for that, and I could give you names. There's like a whole bunch of people coming that hate my guts. They wouldn't even say hi to me when I'm in the room, but they're there.
Surely it's not that bad.
You may not think so. You were at a bash 2 years ago, right?
I've been at a couple of them.
Yeah.
There's always a fun time. Always plenty.
We had
of food.
780
But you know
people
what?
last year.
No, here's my biggest problem. I don't want to tie up your last couple of minutes here, but here's my biggest problem at your events.
Yes.
Always trying to get that extra dessert. But I'm talking to so many people because there's people you haven't seen in years.
Right.
And no matter when you go or what time you go, you run into someone and say, my goodness, I really been wanting to talk to you, and you spend all night talking, and your diet is safe.
Right.
But it works pretty well. But how much are the tickets, and how do they get them?
Yeah, 30 in advance. If you go to eventbrite.com, you just type in Valley Patriot in the search, it'll come right up. It's 40 at the door. We'll have raffles. We've got 50-50s. Free dinner. By the way, the dinner has been donated, 100% donated by Salvatore's Restaurant in Lawrence. We're going to have
Isn't that wonderful?
Going to have chicken palm, veal palm. It's going to be great. And the Firefighters Relief Fund donated the hall, and DJ Ricky B donated his time. We don't pay for anything at this event. We pay for tablecloths. That's about it.
Isn't that great? Okay, we have about a minute. Let's do a quick profile. Another veteran that's jumped out at you that, again, they're all great, but another one.
There's a lot of veterans in this book people don't know are veterans. So Joe Bella is a guy from Methuen. He's a historian. He's on the Historical Commission. He does a whole bunch of stuff. Most people don't know he's a Vietnam veteran. We interviewed him, I think, back in 2008 or 9. He's in the book. Mike Bashara's in the book. Jim Cassidy's in the book. Admiral Hudner from Andover not only did we profile him, but we transcribed a speech he gave about the war on terror a few years ago. That's actually the very first chapter. Really honored to even have them in my book.
I guess we have a quick call. Let's try to work this in.
Sure.
We're going to be a couple seconds.
I'm trying to talk as fast as I can because I know you're out of time.
Oh, okay. Caller, you are on the air with Tom Duggan on the Open Mic Show.
Hi there, Tim.
Hi there.
I don't want to hold you up, but I just wanted to ask Tom something. I think it was like maybe 10 years ago, there was a gentleman, and he put out the word that he wanted to know the names of World War II veterans because he wanted to interview them, and he did, and they have the tapes at the library. Was that him?
Oh, Tom, did you do that?
No, that wasn't me. And you know what? As you were saying that, I remembered who it was, and I lost the thought, and I can't think of who it is now.
Oh,
I know that
it was you, because I did give him a lot of names because at that time I was helping Leslie Brindis keep a running note of all the Jewish war veterans.
Oh, so these were oral histories. Is that what
I see? Yeah.
Well, if you do a sequel and you want to look at some of the others, you might.
We're working on Volume 2 right now because all of the veterans that we've honored up to January of this year are in this book, and then from February on we'll be in the next book. One of the other amazing veterans that are in this book who recently passed away is Luther McElwain, Tuskegee Airman, was in his 90s. Was one of the most tremendous people you've ever met in your life. What that guy went through, you could write a book on 1/3 of what that guy went through and still not even touch it.
Marcel?
Are you familiar with Bill Rogers from the Haverhill Veterans Group?
I think we've met, but I don't know him well.
He was very friendly with Russ Shafford.
Yeah.
They ran the group.
Yeah, a quick question for you, though. Are these oral histories available? Can people listen to them on a CD, or would you...
Oh, I have... They're on the shelves there against the wall. One of the gentlemen from World War II who works at the senior center, he did one of them. I don't remember who else did it. A lot of the people I had suggested, as Tom mentioned, they were reluctant to, get into these details. It's just too gruesome.
Well, thank you very much, though, for sharing that. I did not know that. I'm sure many of our listeners did not know that. So that's very, very helpful and very, very timely. Thank you very much for your call. I guess while we have you, do you have a birthday entry you want to make?
Offhand, I don't. You're doing April, right?
Yes.
Let's see, April. I can't think offhand.
All right.
I wanted to mention one other thing.
Sure.
This is going back a number of years. They used to want people to write cards to servicemen for, like, the holidays.
Yes.
And then it came to a point, and you couldn't do that anymore, and I don't know why. Because I used to like to do that. I'd send cards. Do you do it care of each chaplain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a good question.
I didn't know that, but that's something that I spend a lot of time with veterans, so it's something I could ask them next time I'm with Francisco or somebody.
All right, so you might get that answer on the Valley Patriot, and of course, it'll give us an excuse to have Tom back and answer your question.
And I want to answer the question of the guy that called before I came on the radio. I was on my way here on the highway, and I heard somebody call and ask if there was an audiobook available. The answer,
thank you.
The answer is no, there isn't yet. But we've actually had some discussions about how we can make the audiobook available, and I'm just not sure of how the process works. This is my first book I'm writing myself. It's my second book, but I co-wrote my first book with someone else. This is the first one that I've published myself, gone through the whole process, did the Amazon stuff, did the editing and all that. So I'm just not sure how the process works, but if I have to read it myself, if there are blind veterans out there or just blind people out there that want to hear the book and they can't read it and they're really interested, contact me and we'll find a way to get that done.
All right, so Corporal Boucher, that's your answer. And Marcel, thank you very much for your very good question. I'm afraid we're out of time.
I could stay here all night.
Hour.
We could chat about all kinds of stuff.
Well, we'll have to work that
Nice
out.
talking to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for calling.
Thank you very much. All right. All right.
I'm actually starting to miss radio being on the show.
Here we are. I'm going to work this in just to make sure it's legal. WHAV LP Haverhill. All right. We met the rule. All right. We're going to be back. We're going to talk for the last half hour about some of the storm issues that are coming up, the cancellations, various events tomorrow been closed, including an election in Plastow,
That's crazy.
New Hampshire. But
We had our election in North Andover on 9/11, and we did not shut it down.
Now, so I was a little surprised by that, so there'll be other surprises. But, Tom, it's what a great pleasure to have you back on the program.
I'm not used to that, so thank you.
No, and then we'll fight over some other time.
Okay.
No one fights over veterans.
People think I'm doing all this veteran stuff, that I'm like a happy-go-lucky, positive guy all the time. Now, in my real life, I'm really political and controversial.
No, we'll work on that next. But
All right.
we've always agreed to disagree, and actually, most times we agree. Which
I think
is
I think it's
oddity.
a respect that I've always had, and I feel it from you. It's a respect for someone that respects the First Amendment and that respects other people that disagree. We have very diametrically opposed views on some things, but I don't take my politics personal. You know, if you're for abortion, I'm against abortion, or vice versa. That's just how we feel about an issue, not each other.
No, and this one we're united on, too. All right, so that'll do it for this hour. We'll be back after local news, local weather, right here, 97.9 WHAV and the Open Mic Show.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8:06.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. A 49-year-old Haverhill man faces multiple charges of aggravated rape of a child following his arrest late Friday morning. William Beer of 17 8th Avenue was arrested just before 11 a.m. at Haverhill Police Station on warrants. 4 warrants relate to aggravated rape of a child, while a single warrant each relate to indecent assault and battery on a child, indecent assault on a person, and assault to rape a child. Haverhill Police confirmed this weekend the charges are unrelated to other child abuse cases. No additional information was available by News Deadline. People from around the Merrimack Valley and southern New Hampshire braved single-digit temperatures and 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts for a shot at appearing as extras in an upcoming movie. Julie Arverdon Knowlton, casting director for Slate Casting of Boston, estimated by the 3 in the afternoon about 2,500 people showed up at American Legion Post number 4, 1314 Main Street. Originally planned to start at 10 a.m., the casting company swung open the door to the function room ahead of time to accommodate early arrivals waiting in their cars or huddled around the parking lot in sub-freezing temperatures. People continued to arrive throughout the day in groups of from 10 to 20 at a time. Once the doors opened, everyone was able to get in and out of the elements as they waited turns to sign up. Extras chosen from the casting call will be used in Daddy's Home 2, a movie sequel to a comedy starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg that was released in 2015. Both actors will be back in the sequel. Production of the film is expected to begin later this spring. Haverhill City Council President John Mitchison wants an explanation from the mayor as to why residents were not notified until this weekend about a December drinking water treatment malfunction. Haverhill households were notified by mail this weekend that a rapid series of brief power outages at the city's Amesbury Road water treatment plant prevented disinfectant from being added to drinking water. For 9 minutes, the notice read, the required number of chemicals was not added to the water. Unfortunately, the Haverhill City Council was not apprised of this issue by the mayor when it occurred in December. We are just finding out about it now, along with citizens, Mitchison told WHAV. I'm assured by Deputy Public Works Director Bob Ward that no citizen was put at risk, he added. While the mailing notes residents need not to take any action, such as boiling water, it also contained precautionary information about risk to people with compromised immune systems, infants, and some elderly. Mitchison said the additional information, while required by the state, created fear. The notice follows strict guidelines and thus, unfortunately, does not clearly state that the public was not put at risk, the council president said. City Council has already had an item related to the water treatment plant on its agenda this week. The item, scheduled to be placed on file for the required 2 weeks, would allow borrowing another $3.7 million for an already $37.5 million improvement project at the treatment plant. Live and locally performed music and special tributes highlight Thursday night's formal dedication of 97.9 WHAV and celebration of the 70th anniversary of the original WHAV in Haverhill. Rick O'Shea, a broadcast veteran who first came to WHAV in 1984, serves as Master of Ceremonies for the 97.9 WHAV inauguration ceremony. He introduces local and state officials paying tribute to the new radio station and musical selections from local singer-songwriter Latria Masters and senior members of the Haverhill High School Chorus. Expected to deliver dedicatory greetings and citations are Representative Brian Dempsey, Chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Haverhill Mayor James Fiorentini, City Council President John Mitchison. Other members of the Haverhill City Council and School Committee and administration are also expected. A citation from Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker will be read. The new WHAV-FM signed on in late September with a larger on-air footprint than the original WHAV-AM, blanketing the city of Haverhill and reaching all area communities. WHAV members and distinguished guests are invited to attend the inaugural ceremony Thursday, March 16th, 6 o'clock at Maria's Galleria Banquet Room, 85 Essex Street. The dedication will also be broadcast live at 97.9 FM. Although there is no cost for WHAV members, seating is limited and registration is required. Register at whav.net. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Lorna Shattuck. The UK government's Brexit legislation has passed through Parliament, meaning Prime Minister Theresa May is now able to start negotiations on leaving the European Union. However, she's not expected to trigger Article 50 to start formal talks with Brussels until the end of the month. The parliamentary approval came just hours after Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon called for a new referendum on Scottish independence. UK correspondent Ollie Barrett says it's an important moment in the Brexit build-up.
The government has got its way. Its so-called Brexit bill becomes law, which means that Theresa May can, when she wants to, trigger Article 50, which will open 2 years of negotiations with Brussels on the future British relationship with the European Union outside of the bloc. The House of Lords had tried to add a couple of amendments to the bill on the issues of the rights of EU citizens living here in the UK and on the issue of securing what's being described as a meaningful vote on any deal that the Prime Minister does eventually reach with the European Union. Now, the government insists it takes those two issues seriously, but it said all along it wanted this Brexit bill to be simply about process.
Millions of Americans are at risk of losing their access to health care. That's according to an independent review of Republican plans approved by President Trump. The Congressional Budget Office says the proposed changes to Obamacare could see as many as 24 million Americans lose their health insurance over the next 10 years. Here's our Washington correspondent Simon Marks.
The Congressional Budget Office is non-partisan, and the numbers it's generated on the Republican proposals are devastating. 14 million more people would be uninsured next year than under the current law, and within a decade, the number of people losing their health insurance would reach more than 24 million. The White House is challenging the CBO's numbers, but they will make it enormously difficult for Republicans to sell the plan they're currently offering.
A fast-moving winter storm is hitting the northeastern US, with airlines cancelling thousands of flights and mayors ordering many schools to stay closed on Tuesday. The National Weather Service has issued storm or blizzard warnings for parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York and Connecticut, covering some 50 million people. Forecasters are predicting up to 2 feet or 60 centimetres of snow in some areas. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's declared a state of emergency.
It's a good day to stay home. In any case, it is going to be a dangerous situation with high winds, which makes the situation more dangerous and more problematic with possible whiteout conditions. This would be an historic snowfall for March.
The snowstorm has also forced German Chancellor Angela Merkel to postpone a planned visit to Washington, D.C. to meet President Trump. The visit will now take place on Friday instead. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather, and we've got a winter storm warning, 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tuesday. Also a blizzard watch from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday. For tonight, cloudy with snow breaking out by daybreak, a low near 20. Snow heavy at times. Tuesday turning windy. Accumulations 12 to 18 inches by the end of the day. Temperature will be close to 30. Snow will taper off Tuesday evening, then it's cloudy and windy with a low near 20. Cloudy and windy, a few snow showers on Wednesday near 30. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
97.9 FM, WHAV. .9 FM, WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV. Merrimack Valley.
We belong together. It's the perfect combination. Easy listening and you and WHAV.
And another jingle from the past here at WHAV. Thursday night, 6 o'clock at Maria's Galleria Banquet Hall, 85 Essex Street in downtown Haverhill. WHAV dedicates its new FM transmitter. It's been on the air for 6 months, but we chose March 16th because it's the 70th anniversary of the WHAV call letters in Haverhill on a radio broadcasting station. Now, the call letters actually go back even a little bit before that. They were once the Haverhill Police Department's shortwave radio. WHAV, long associated with Haverhill, back in Haverhill. If you call Chris He'll put you reserve. He'll give you a reservation. There's no charge, but reservations are required because seating is going to be limited. But if you give Chris a call, 978-374-1900, you can reserve a seat. You and a guest, open mic show special. You can do that. We have a call. Before we get to that, let me just point out some things in case you didn't hear it earlier. Rick O'Shea. He was a WHAV in 1984, spent some years here. He's going to be Master of Ceremonies for the event Thursday night. But there's more. If you order before midnight tomorrow, no, you don't even have to order. We're going to have wonderful artists there as well, performing live. Latria Masters from Haverhill is going to sing the national anthem live. I mean, radio stations used to sign on. We still sign on at 6 a.m. with the national anthem. We're on 24 hours a day, but we stop at 6 a.m. with the national anthem. But we're also going to have members of the Haverhill High School Chorus appear who are going to sing. We're going to have Emily Farisso, Joseph Pazanisi, and Chloe Reynolds, Haverhill High School seniors. And if that wasn't enough, the station was founded by John Taylor Russ in 1947. He had been planning it since 1944, had to wait for the end of World War II to get this going. 5 members of his family, descendants of John Russ, will be with us for the ceremony. All right, in a couple of minutes, I know we have a caller. I just want to remind you that you can also submit someone's name tonight or a couple's name tonight for Albie D's Second Generation Italian Bakery's cake contest. An April birthday or an April anniversary, just say out, call Chris, give him the name and address of the recipient, then go on the air, announce your greeting, and then their name is entered into the hat for the drawing the last Monday of the month. Okay, let's work in that call. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Good evening, Tim. How are you?
The better question is, how are you, Jerry?
I'm much better. I was in the hospital with double pneumonia, and
my goodness.
Then I was in rehab, and last week you didn't have a program. I had my headphones with me at the Northeast Rehab waiting for the program, but you didn't have one.
Oh, no, we had a rerun last week.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sorry.
kind of disappointing, but that's
I'm
okay.
sorry. Well, maybe you got to hear yourself, though, from an earlier show.
Tell me, I completely agree with Chairman Mitchison. The situation at the water treatment plant was a very serious one, and it almost seems like I would be requesting a full report as to what happened, how it happened, whether samples of, in the distribution system were collected for, to find out how far the problem with disinfection, travels without disinfection.
Yeah, good point. Good point, because I just want to make sure listeners know what we're talking about. Today, WHAV News reported City Council President John Mitchison wants an explanation, his word, an explanation about why it took 3 months to tell citizens that Haverhill water was not treated for 9 minutes because of a power outage.
Yeah, the disinfection part of the process, which is the most important, really. The water goes into the distribution system after the disinfectant. Generally, HOCl or actually Clorox is which is being used. Years ago, they used to use chlorine gas, but it became too dangerous, And
sure.
So now they use it's just about the same strength as Clorox.
Well, what do you know about that? So a chlorine mix.
Yeah, chlorine in water, HOCl. Yeah, and that was a really serious situation. I can't imagine what happened because generally plants automatically, when there is an outage, there is a switch, an automatic switch that switches to the generator, and the generator is activated immediately. So there's something wrong there with that particular system, Yeah,
DPW Deputy DPW Director Bob Ward said that they all have some new procedures in place and some equipment in place. I imagine we're going to get that detail when the city council meets, but it may very well be the kind of thing you're discussing where an automatic system, either human error.
The generator didn't kick on. And, it's really serious because, that undisinfected effluent could contain an organism that they've been really concerned about over the last 10 years or so. It's called Cryptococcus. It's an enteric along with E. coli, which is, we used to just think that E. coli was what they call a surrogate organism, but it's been shown that E. coli is a pathogen also. So it was a really serious situation. And in fact, that happened in Lawrence right after they had retrofitted the plant. They had done some work to the plant, and as a result, they had the same kind of a situation. Undisinfected water got into the distribution system. And that was one of the reasons, I think that was one of the reasons why the city of Lawrence privatized the water filtration plant, and it's now being run by Woodard and Curran.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you a question. You obviously worked for the Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Environmental Quality Engineering before that, and before that, I think it was a part of the State Department of Public Health. Is that right?
Exactly. We were the Bureau of Environmental Sanitation in the Department of Public Health.
Now, your experience, though, what should have happened as far as notification? We obviously took 3 months. The story is, well, the state
immediate recommendations to boil the water, etc. Just the common sense things that are generally showering and those kinds of problems are not problems, but drinking it, making sure that you're not making iced tea or iced coffee with it. Boiling is the primary thing that should have been done. And in addition to that, the plant people should have been out collecting samples, determining what the chlorine residuals were and how far they were from the plant, and also collecting samples.
Now, let me ask you this.
I totally agree with Chairman Mitchelson. I think he's doing a service to the community. He's trying to make sure that the drinking water, which is so important, is safe.
Let me ask you this. I mean, obviously, you don't know the flow rate and all those things. Maybe you do, but a 9-minute outage. If bad things were to happen, they would have been in the first day, and then there's no risk now. Would you say?
Not now. No, I'm sure there isn't a risk now, but it would depend upon how much pressure as to how far that undisinfected water was in the distribution system. The other thing is how many minutes did it take before they discovered that the hypochlorite was not being discharged into the effluent from the filters itself. So there needs to be an investigation. And I was talking to DEP today. I'm not positive, but I don't even think that DEP was notified. Because when I talked to a couple of key people today because I had read it in the newspaper, and I talked to them, and they didn't seem to know, or at least the people that I talked to didn't seem to know anything about it, and it was
the story that WHAV reported suggested. I guess that's the key word, suggested, that it was state officials that somehow held up this notice because of what it should include. But that doesn't seem to ring true for you. I take it.
No, I don't think so, really.
All right, so that
these are things that should be taken care of seriously locally, really. the disinfection of water that is actually coming from a source like the Merrimack River is, and actually the ancillary sources to the main source, Johnson's Pond and Chadwick Pond, correct?
Yes.
And both. Of them,
no, Johnson's isn't in use, but you mean for backup?
It isn't in use, but the other pond is. It's a secondary water supply, and they divert from that during, when they have drought situations and things like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which I don't know where we stand actually on that. It's a good question about whether we now have enough.
Chadwick Pond, yeah, it's classified as a secondary source, which is diverted into what is it, Canosa? Is that what? Yeah,
Canosa's on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we have one of the reasons why. The city council meeting is going to be canceled because of the storm, but there was an existing item. The Haverhill is already going to be spending $37 million for treatment plant improvements, and there was another a loan order for $3.7 million to add to that. That'll be delayed a week. It has to be placed on file for 10 days, then so it'll be delayed a week and then be heard a couple of weeks after that.
The first thing that should be done is fix the generator, fix the switch on the generator, the automatic turn on. That's my, I'm not a consultant in this at all, but it seems to me that's where, that particular item should probably be first on the list right now, immediately, really.
No, it's a good point. Well, we're just about out of time, but Jerry,
by the way,
are you home? You're safe?
Yes. Guess whose birthday it is?
Guess whose birthday? Is it yours?
Yes.
Okay.
April the 15th, tax day.
Ah, that's right. Happy birthday. So.
Oh, thank you. There's going to be an awful lot of people.
Could you write that down?
Unhappy on April the 15th, though, right?
All right. So April 15th, Jerry's birthday. Chris is putting your name into the hat for LBD's second generation Italian bakery cake.
I'll tell you something. Not only do they have the best cakes in the United States, but Tim, their fig squares are out of this world.
Oh, wow, that's good to know. I'll be down there tomorrow, actually, assuming the weather allows.
They are delicious. They're fig squares. You won't want to stop once you eat one, I'll tell you.
All right, very good. That's a good point. I'll keep that in mind. We are out of time, I'm afraid, Jerry, but thank you so much. Glad to hear that you're home and that you're well and recovering.
And I'll be 89 years old.
89 years old on April 15th.
My mother lived until she was 96, and she knew where every penny in her assets were.
All right, well,
every penny, because I had to manage her.
Every generation lives longer, so we expect you to be calling the open mic show in 20 years.
Yeah, she was in the Depression, and next time we talk, I'll tell you about my plan for addressing the problem with immigration and using the borderline. What is it? What state is that? Arkansas, is it?
Which one?
They go under the fence. They go over the fence. I have a plan.
Arizona?
It's something similar to the old WPA.
Oh.
What,
to build a wall?
Yeah, the wall.
Okay. So
next week we'll talk about that.
Okay, so like something like the Work Progress Administration.
I think that what I have to say maybe a solution, really,
Put people to work at the same time. Well, let's hear your ideas next week on the open mic. Thank you very much, Jerry.
I called Washington and told them, I don't know, maybe they'll consider it, It has to do with internment like we did to the Japanese citizens in the United States during the Second World War, who actually were citizens. But these that are coming underneath the wall and over the fence, they're not citizens. But they could be citizens under what the process that I'm thinking about anyway.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry. Well, again, we're glad you're home. Let's have you on next week. We appreciate your time.
And I appreciate that. I love the program, really. I really love it. I really.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Have a good night, Jerry, and say hello to your entire family for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. That'll do it for the Open Mic Show. Remember, Thursday night. You can also call the station anytime during the week, 978-374-1900. Thursday night, 6 o'clock, Maria's Galleria Banquet Hall, 85 Essex Street, dedication of the new 97.9 FM WHAV, and a celebration of the 70th anniversary of the WHAV call letters in Haverhill. Special thanks to Chris Porter in Master Control, Cindy Driver. We didn't have time to interview her on air. Maybe she's relieved about that. Try to get her on next time, and we'll take it from there. Stay tuned for weather information from WHAV's Wave Weather and complete reports at 11 o'clock tonight and 7 a.m. tomorrow. Have a good night.
Open mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic Show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic Show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.